I don't think so. I can hear you. What do other folks say?
Patricia, I can barely hear the music.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. We're working on a little details right now. Nice to see you all. Ooh, Jen, I like that big flower behind you. Hi. Hey, Russell. Hi, Vanessa. Hi, Tina. Hey, Anisha. Hi, Petra. I see April. I see Russell. I see Neil. I might have said Russell twice. How's everyone doing?
Feeling my way through the darkness, guided by a beating heart. I can't tell where the journey will end.
Hi, y'all. We thank you so much for being here with us tonight for our Politically Charged Mondays. Welcome, and we appreciate you being here. Hope you're all doing well, enjoying this beautiful transition to our deliciously hot summers. But the weather's been beautiful, so hopefully you've been able to get out and enjoy it. We really want to hear from you, so make sure that you are replying to everyone in the chat, not to the panelists, but to the panelists and everyone. And we're going to get started in just a minute, but for now, we'd like to hear each of your answer. If you could come off mute and tell me, with your beautiful voice, which mass live value resonates with you the most right now. And if you don't tell me, I'm going to call on you. Uh-oh, Tina, you're stuck in Roboto land.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. You could drop in the chat the number, and we have somebody monitoring the chat if you can't speak.
No, I can speak, but I'm driving, so I can't type.
Oh, I got it. Okay, so which one is yours, Tina? Which is your mass live value?
Oh, I didn't hear the question. So I think
can you name one of the mass live
I
values?
think the people over property.
Okay. Cool. Can you tell us a little bit about why?
I just found one.
Because I think that I think that homelessness causes way more problems for people and the society than I think folks realize. I think there's a lot of people who they're not willing to invest in people, and they don't realize that if we house people and people have affordable housing, it makes everything so much better. I mean, I come from California and I've been out here for a while, but I mean, their homeless problem is getting completely out of hand. And you have millionaires, billionaires, and then you have all these people living in the street because they can't afford, they can't afford housing. And when you just think about all of the logistics and all of the issues that people have, whether it's just bathing or staying out of the elements or getting good nutrition, healthcare, there's so many basic things that if we just were generous enough and open enough with our neighbors to make sure that everybody had the essentials, so many issues that we have in the society would just go away. And I just dream about that. It would just be so nice.
I would love to have a direct conversation with you about that, because in my training in public health in college, that's all we talked about. So I thank you for your perspective, Tina. Thank you so much. Anyone else want to share their value that's resonating the most with them right now? I'm about to start calling on people.
I'll go.
Okay, Helen, thank you for being brave. Okay, Petra have a raised hand. Cool.
For me today and like every day, it's just number 2. We Center Black Liberation. I'm really letting you guys lead it and telling us where to go and where you need us to really back you guys up is I think really important. So just making sure our voices are where our ears are and where we're being led to by you guys.
Thank you, Helen. We appreciate not your allyship, but your sisterhood. So we appreciate you and your perspective. I believe Petra had her hand up. Would you like to go next, Petra?
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to go off camera, but my connection's a little touch and go. I feel like love and rigor was one of the bigger things that always stuck out to me because of my own personal work in public health and the whole reasons why I went back to school to bring back information and nurture my community. And my family and I have always talked about, gosh, wouldn't it be great like if we could just live somewhere cooler, like temperature wise, somewhere safer. But the things that kind of keep me here and will continue to keep me here is that if you really love something, you'll nurture it. And that takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. And a lot of people think that, it's something that we can just throw out there. Oh yeah, love and rigor. No, that's like a real commitment right there. And that a lot of people who paint abolitionist work as this wild like idea, I think it's just, I don't know, I just think it's incredible. Like if they were to just sit down and hear the words that everybody has to say and the thoughts and the ideas that we have, they'd realize that is actually a lot safer than what's happening and what's been happening since forever in the history of this country. So this is really revolutionary work and it shouldn't be silenced anymore.
Petra, the analysis behind love and rigor you just gave, honestly, just gave me the goose pimples. I appreciate you so much for breaking that down in such a digestible way. That was amazing. So thank you for that and your whole analysis and your smiling face that we can't see. On Facebook, we have a comment from Will Knight that says the abolitionist value that's resonating right now for them is there's a difference between crime and harm. Thank you, Will, for that. And then Karen Olson said, all of us or none of us. And that's what's up, I believe, in all of them tonight specifically. Thank you all for being brave. And I hope that even if you didn't share out loud or in the chat, you at least answered the question for yourself, because that's a really important place to start, right? All right. So we, if there are folks out there on Facebook land and you're joining us, please go ahead and share live. I know you hear me say this every time, but please share live and broadcast your page. We thank you all so much. Tonight, we're going to talk about how city council members and staff are responsible for upholding the systems of oppression and anti-Blackness that are just a deep part of society, that they fly under the radar and that it appears to be just business as usual to them. And if you aren't caught up on the politically charged viewings that Dave Biscobing created, that series, Anisha will drop a link in the chat now. Thank you, Anisha. That will get you to the series that you can watch in its entirety. And we ask that you share that because it's a great way to open up narrative and talk to folks that may not have the same kind of analysis that we do because they just don't really know the details of what's happening. So thank you very much for dropping that in the chat, Anisha, and please share that far and wide. If you can. We're going to close about 10 minutes early today, just as a heads up, because we have a D8 accountability, City of Phoenix District 8 accountability, excuse me, conversation that's happening at 7. So we're going to jump off promptly at 6:45. If you hear my phone go off, I had set an alarm to keep us on task. So just know that we're dropping off a little bit early today. And so we have a tight schedule. But before we jump into our discussion tonight about city council and the city staff and how they collude in political persecution and violence with the police, we wanted to review a bit because we've been here for a very long time, and I just want to make sure that all the pieces fit. This way we can all be clear on exactly who's involved in this corruption, and we can, excuse me, I don't know what's going on with my throat, but please forgive me and indulge my cough. We can explain to others how the system is not broken. It's designed to do exactly what it's doing. So today is May 3rd. Last year, May 25th is when Minneapolis police murdered George Floyd. And on that same day, local DPS killed Deion Johnson right here in Phoenix. We're, excuse me, we're almost to the year anniversary of this state-sanctioned violence and the world uprising behind Black lives in general. So 13 weeks ago, that's about 3 months, we started showing these viewings of Dave Biskobing's discovery about how violent and anti-Black and corrupt the Phoenix police and MCAO are and how they've navigated this space. So we'll drop a link in the chat in case you haven't seen it, like I said before. Please come off mute and share with us some of the big points that you remember from the politically charged series, and reflect with folks about what you remember. Who would like to go first? And please, we'll be monitoring Facebook chat as well. So anyone want to tell us something that they remember that stood out? I see Neil shaking his head.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of that cop lying under oath.
One.
Well, yeah, I know, but we're talking about, I think it was Bruce Frank, how he had a certain name for that kind of push or something. Anyway, it was, you know, he just like did it. And it's been my experience is like when police are testifying, you can pretty much expect them to lie, whatever's gonna work for them and what they're trying to do. And that just, yeah, it's too true.
Yeah, I think it was called like a chest punch or something like
The hammer, I don't know.
Chest or chest hammer.
That
Hammer
was
strike.
Jamar's case.
Oh, that was Jamar's case. Okay.
Oh, Jamar's
They
case.
said that Bruce was down like a football player, like ready to attack.
Yeah. And then the video showed nothing of the kind, right?
He was like, y'all turn your cameras on, turn your cameras on. That does not look like a 3-point stance. So yeah, thank you for that, Neil. Anyone else, anything that stood out to them from this series? I see.
Hi.
Oh, go ahead, Vanessa.
I think you kind of touched on it, but just how Bruce had his hands up and it was so visible from multiple directions, and how he even called prior saying, okay, let's get your cameras on and get ready. And just that whole scene, and then how they just came at him so aggressively, even though that's what they claimed he was doing.
Correct.
It was actually them that was charging him, and it was so violent and really difficult to watch because he's such a lovely human being, really hard to watch, but that really stood out to me.
Yeah, the first time I saw that, Vanessa, I'm sorry, I was with you all. So just to see them grabbing and I'm imagining the force at which they were pulling his arms while his family was holding on, his family in protest were holding onto his waist and trying to keep him. I can't imagine what that feels like. And yeah, that made me actually weep, ugly cry, trying to keep it together. So that's a very, that resonated with me as well. So thank you. I see that Petra says it was so sad to see the COINTEL resurface on our modern movement for liberation and peace. It's the same tactics to silence progress for a safer, healthier, and equitable society, just like back in the 60s. I hope I said that COINTEL word correctly. Thank you, Petra, for your thoughts. Karen Olson on Facebook is saying Alistair knowing about the charges in October before her hospitalization in November. Eesh. Hard truth to face, but it's the facts. Petra said it just means this work is important in truly challenging the status quo, which would mean we could really save lives in years of people's lives by challenging the money-making machine that prisons are. Facts. Absolutely. Is there anything else on Facebook or anyone else want to share something that resonated with you since you've watched all these 3 months worth of viewings?
Well, it really stood out to me to hear directly from the people involved, the footage and audio of cops communicating, and even April Sponsel communicating with cops.
Yeah, it's one of those don't believe it unless you see it and hear it yourself kind of things. And I'm just really glad that everyone has had the chance to have proof for what Black people and brown people have known all their lives, just intrinsically through generations of this kind of oppression. I'm glad to see that folks have the facts that they need to also now be in solidarity. So I'm grateful for that. Anyone else, or is there anything else on Facebook? Don't be shy, we're in family. All right, so all those key points, exactly true, but let me just go down another list of them that I have right in front of me, just in case, if we hear it twice, that means it's to hit solid twice. So way back in week 1, we saw Sergeant McBride, who was the head of the tactical response unit that responds to protests, lie on the stand, okay, while he was being called a gang expert. Phoenix Police Department arrested approximately 414 protesters during the Black Lives Matters uprising last summer. That was 354 from May 28th to May 31st. And that was 60 from June 1st to November. The county attorney's office created a trumped up gang charge that added years in prison and PPD called the arrests riots. We know that the only ones wreaking havoc and causing violence was the police themselves. We also know that they got money from the city council to cover the expenses of a riot that never happened. We know that to be true. PPD charged Bruce by name. They targeted Bruce by name at the protest on August 9th. We have recordings of them also calling Black Lives Matters leaders targets and lying on the stand when Jamar was falsely arrested and charged. We saw Alistair Adele get caught in flat out lies about her involvement in corruption of her office and the involvement of political prosecutions. She finally dropped the charges on October 17th because we fought hard and we pressured for that, right? But we still have 3 people to go, so let's not forget our 3 brothers and sisters left. But then we saw how toxic and corrupt MCAO's First Responders Bureau and April Sponsel are. She, of course, has been put on leave since then, but her being a scapegoat is not enough. Only dismantling the First Responders Bureau and abolishing the system is a just solution. So let's not forget what we saw, and that we also saw the woefully inept Ed Zerker stumble on his interview and visibly irritate Dave Biscobing, who is a reporter, who naturally they keep their cool, right? But he visibly irritated him. It's a really tough one to see through these blatant lies and to remain calm, like all these puppets keeping this white supremacist systems in place that kill our Black people. And let's not forget about that neo-Nazi coin with neo-Nazi language that was made, traded, and sold by Phoenix Police Department and the TRU to celebrate their violent response to a protest when they shot a man in the groin with a rubber bullet. This is really way too much to name, and it's just a specific case that we've had months of news and shocking evidence outlining Phoenix Police Department and MCAO's disgusting misconduct. So tonight we want to make clear that the city council and staff are equally to blame. They absolutely have the authority to diminish the power of the police department and therefore reduce the harm that they cause. And yet again, and again, and again, no matter how many of us turn out, no matter how many meetings we come to, no matter how much we get our voice to be heard, they ignore our demands, they hold up the status quo, even while praising PPD for a job well done and increasing their already huge $700 million+ budgets. So on that unfortunate note, sorry to be the bearer of such sad news, y'all. I'm gonna turn it over to Patricia, where she and I will talk through a conversation about the city politics and the clowns on the council.
Thank you, Zoraida. Friendly reminder to everyone to keep breathing through all this tough news, and we
Right?
being here with us for sure. So like Zoraida said, it's been made clear all of these months of news stories and evidence how despicable Phoenix Police and MCAO are. But we want to make sure that everybody knows behind the scenes, the people that are empowering, condoning, and even applauding that behavior are our Phoenix elected city council members. So can you tell us who is your city council member? We'll drop a link in the chat if you don't know, so you can find who it is. And let's just name all of the Phoenix city council members. go ahead and unmute and let's just start naming names.
Patricia, while they're looking it up, I just want to honor people's comments. Is that okay?
Yeah, please, thank you.
On Facebook, Will Knight says, how about the time when the press exposed the ongoing government surveillance of Black movement leaders who were and still are viewed as paranoid for believing that they're under surveillance? Ryan Winkle also said, I'm extremely appreciative of MassLib and the work that you do to get people involved in showing up, specifically in calling out racism in zoning and land development practices by cities. Thank you, People Over Profit. I'm imagining there's a fist up there. Also, Will Knight says, and the press exposed what it meant. What it I mean is Black movement leaders finally get people to listen. And there you go. So I just wanted to catch up on people's comments.
Thank you for doing that. And thank you everyone on Facebook and here with us for commenting. So Vanessa put D6, Sal DeCiccio, who, by the way, she unfortunately has terrible experience with, is it Sam Stark, Vanessa? Is that his name?
His chief of staff, Sam, and now that you asked me, I totally blanked on his last name, but yeah.
Okay, well, they're
Yeah.
just, I mean, the comments that they put on Twitter are so truly despicable and shameful. It just speaks to the lack of character they have. Helen says D8, Carlos Garcia, that's for South Phoenix. D5, Betty Guardado, thank you, Lachey. Anybody else have a council member? I can take us through the laundry list, because the thing is, what we want is for these folks to be named. And oh, someone asked me a private question. Why do we focus on Phoenix City Council to defund the police? What about Tempe, Chandler, Scottsdale? Will Knight on Facebook said D4. So is Laura Pastor. The issue and why we focus specifically on Phoenix City Council and why in other states where police have been defunded, you set a precedent, okay? So if we can get Phoenix City Council to defund the police, then that will create a ripple effect. There's no reason, there's no excuse why other smaller cities can't do exactly the same. So we focus all of our energy on that one target. It's just a smart organizing tactic. And that's a good question. Jan Kaplan, thank you. She said Ann O'Brien, who is the new elect in District 1, and Kelly Works in D1. Petra said, isn't Phoenix PD? Yes, they are named year after year, Petra, the most deadly and violent in the nation. So of course it makes sense to start in Phoenix. That's a great point. So let me just make sure everyone was named. We know that Ann O'Brien, who replaced Thelda, that's like North Phoenix area, Deer Valley. Jim Waring is like Union Hills, North Valley. Deborah Stark, Moon Valley. Laura Pastor, she's like central uptown area. Betty Guardado, West Valley. Sal, of course, is Arcadia and Biltmore, but he also has some say in South Phoenix because his district goes Arcadia, Biltmore, and then down through Ahwatukee. So he does, ooh, that gives me goosebumps in a very bad way. Yasemin Ansari, who was just elected in D7 to replace Michael Nowakowski, represents South and Southwest Phoenix. Of course, Carlos Garcia, which D8 is a historically Black district. He has just been voted by council as the new vice mayor. And an interesting point, Mayor Kate was the D8 council person from, I think, 2013 to 2018. And she's now the mayor, and Carlos is a vice mayor. So when we wonder about politics and why Carlos isn't listening to the Black and directly impacted people in his community, I don't know, little something to think about there. So that's 8 folks, right? Mayor Kate also has a vote. That's why she's at all of the formal council meetings on the 1st and 3rd Wednesday. She gets a vote just like everybody else. Don't forget about Ed, who obviously does not get to vote on council, but he is the city manager. He hires city staff and has power to fire city staff. Now, he is city council's only employee. So city council literally can say, oh, wow, Ed, we see your police force is the most deadly in the nation. We see this neo-Nazi challenge coin. We see the TRU. We see all of these issues coming out. You know what? you are responsible for that. We're going to fire you. And of course, city council balked at that. They wouldn't even touch that petition. They wouldn't even send it through from the subcommittee to formal council, but they do have the power to fire the city manager. Don't forget about the hires that Ed has made. Chief Jerry Williams, Jeff Barton, Jeff Barton, I believe, who replaced Milton Mahoney, the old assistant city manager.
Aren't all those people Black people? Chief Williams, Jeff Barton, and Milton Mahoney, aren't they all Black? But they still support this anti-Black violent rhetoric that perpetuates an endless harm that police causes?
I mean, you said it, Zoraida. So it's something to really look at. And when we think of what's happening in the city and the politics around it and the optics of it, they have a case, right? Well, oh, we can't be anti-Black. Look at our leadership, right? So it's a huge issue. The other thing that we want to point out is that Ed makes about $350,000 a year.
What?
Yeah. That was like in 2019, so who knows what it is by now, but yeah, that's for real. And then I wanted to try to explain the web of like deceit and the different like layers of just fuckery that you have to get through to deal with city council. So when a police officer is disciplined, okay, Chief Jerry has the power to fire a killer cop, technically. However, we know that the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, that plea, despicable, pro-cop, anti-Black, white supremacist, very violent group, they write the MOU and negotiate it behind closed doors with City Council. So there's another place where City Council could intervene. They have the power to. However, we saw they just agreed to the new 2-year contract, which included a raise, a pay increase for Phoenix Police, okay? So that's just completely unacceptable. And we need to hold in our hearts that City Council, and the other thing is, it's not like City Council doesn't know about this. We have been at every single meeting, 2 meetings a month, formal council, and 1 public safety and justice subcommittee a month, 3 a month for at least a year, longer than that. And they're ignoring us, willfully ignoring us, okay? So council doesn't intervene on the MOU. They could change it, they don't. Then we have City Council with the power to defund the police. We just had the budget meetings, a policy where we said you've got to take away some of the $745 million from police, put it into communities so we can create true safety. Of course, they didn't do that. And then there's something called, this is back to police discipline. There's something called the Disciplinary Review Board, which is made up of civilians that City Council appoints, and they get to decide if Chief Jerry says, okay, this guy is fired, the police can take their case to that board, and then they can either decrease or completely eradicate the discipline or firing. And City Council appoints those people. So police know for certain, it's always been this way, they can do whatever they want, they will get away with it. It's apparent in their behavior that they know that. So that Civil Service Board, I think I said the wrong name. The Civil Service Board is the group that the City Council appoints folks to, and they're the ones where the police can bring their case to and say, oh, you know, this is so unfair, I don't deserve to lose my job. And then they can reverse the discipline. So that's the situation we're facing, and why, you know, it explains why police are so blatant with their violence, why they can celebrate it with their body cam on, why they can trade neo-Nazi coins. They know that they will not face any repercussions.
That's a lot to digest. Could I just interrupt you, Patricia, and just ask everyone how they're doing and make sure that you're still breathing? How's everyone doing? How's Facebook family doing? Oh, Helen had to leave too. Okay. Everyone doing okay? Can you all, can I at least see you take a deep breath really quickly? To make sure we didn't choke the life out of you just now. Yeah, it's really violent. It's a lot to take in. So Patricia, what is our big takeaway from all that? That was a lot, but what is our big takeaway?
That's a really good question. Can people drop in the chat too, both Facebook and the Zoom chat, what stood out to them the most? And as those come in, I'll say, I think the biggest takeaway is that council, it truly is in Phoenix City Council's hands. They have the power to create safety in our communities. They absolutely could defund Phoenix police. Instead of doing that, they willfully ignore both the huge problems and the incredible solutions that Black and directly impacted folks have brought to them again and again. Now, the only reason,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying the only reason I can think of, and maybe you all have a better idea, that they would do that they would ignore these issues of people being murdered by their police force is because their own political agenda, anti-Blackness, and their commitment really to upholding the status quo is more important to them than Black lives.
In the chat, we have April saying it doesn't feel great, but it's important to lay out the truth, and thank you for doing so. And Kelly said, people ask why we are so hard on city council, and I try to explain that this is why.
Yes, this is why they cannot get a free pass. And you know, I sound a little bit mean saying this, but it's not acceptable. It makes me furious. We go to these council meetings and we see Mayor Kate smiling and they're all so happy and they're so pleased with themselves and these policies that they're passing. And they're almost smug about the good work they're doing, congratulating themselves for the good work they're doing. And Sal will vocally say, oh, you wackos, you crazies. He uses all this ableist language and makes it sound like we're on the fringe of society when it's defund is not a joke. Like, this is a movement. It's picking up steam. People are finally seeing that defund doesn't mean we want complete anarchy and we want violence in the streets and people killing anybody anywhere. We want safety. And you're racist if you think police create safety, period.
Neil is saying that they are serving money and power rather than people. And it's the same in Tucson. They're so smug and self-satisfied.
And you know, it's the same everywhere right now because that's how it's always been. But that's why we're out here putting this on Facebook and asking you all to meet with us and asking you all to talk to your family, friends, and coworkers about it. Because for people that have never understood or seen a news story and see, oh, wow, the police really are targeting Black folks, they think that police create safety. That's how we've all been brainwashed. So we have to shift that narrative. We have to get people to understand what's really happening. And then it's truly the only logical way out of this problem. You take money from police and you put it into communities so we can actually create safety. Are there more comments, Zoraida?
I don't see any right now.
Okay, cool. So
I'm sorry. Will on Facebook says the dismissal of speakers, the placement at the end of the agenda, the obvious intentional disregard for voices from the community. That's all city council nonsense. April says, what stands out the most for me is how every time we come together, Mass Arizona value of systems designed this way really, really stands out. My personal racist views and privilege have guarded me from seeing this truth, but we see it truly has been designed to maintain the violence. And then Petra says, there's seemingly little to no reciprocity. What kind of conversations are they engaging in to truly address the issues impacting communities, the most neglected neighborhoods? And Petra says, literal no upstream approaches, perhaps because it's non-profitable.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for saying that. All of those comments are true. I mean, we all know policing was created only to keep Black people enslaved and to protect property over people. Wealthy white men have always made the laws that police and prosecutors enforce and uphold. And we know now, we've seen enough videos that these laws have nothing to do with justice or safety. That's absolutely true. And all of the pieces fit together like a perfect, violent, terrifying puzzle. We see our state legislature writing these horrifying bills that are going to be passed into law that will make it easier for police to squash dissent. We have city council members that on every single vote, they protect these killer cops. And not only protect, because again, they have heard our stories. They have heard Black and directly impacted Brown leaders tell them what's going on. In those same meetings, they will cut off those Black and Brown speakers. They will skip over them. They will erase their voices, and then they will applaud and commend the police for doing a great job. They're wonderful people. They're serving our communities. Those are the white council members saying that. So that's just despicable, and we're not going to let that pass anymore. And then, of course, on the county level, MCAO, they're the ones helping create these false charges and trying to lock people away who are calling for justice.
In the chat, Patricia Anisha says, I think that most people barely even make an effort to vote for council members. And if they do, they think their responsibility ends there, that council members will automatically do an acceptable, decent job. The system is designed to make everyone think that, and that many of us fall for that lie. That these people have a lot of power, and the only reason why she says that, she says, is because she used to think that way. And then Neil says that Black and Brown neighborhoods are neglected only when it comes to services and benefits, but the center of focus when it comes to police violence. True that.
Yep, absolutely true. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. We really appreciate hearing from you.
Patricia, can I ask you a question? What is it really that hard to defund the police? Like, I know that Bruce told us that the new mayor of St. Louis just took tens of millions of dollars away from their police department. So how hard really is it to defund?
Zoraida, great
Oh God,
question.
did I ask a hard question? I'm sorry.
So the reason why it's hard is because technically it's not hard at all. It's very simple. Many cities, more than a dozen, I feel like up to 20 cities right now. And if you Google what cities have defunded the police, you'll see article after article. I guarantee there's at least 20. Austin, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, all over the place, they're doing it. So how hard is it? Theoretically, no problem. We need to get to 5 votes on those formal city council meetings to pass anything. Yasmin, Betty, Laura, Kate, Carlos, that's 5 votes. They could vote to defund police. They could take away half their budget. They could take away their whole budget like this. Now, that's the easy answer. It's not hard at all. We just need 5 votes. Why can't we get 5 votes? That's what makes it seem impossible to defund police, because our city council truly is violent, okay? Their actions and behavior, it is violent and abusive. They are anti-Black. They willfully, constantly, consistently refuse to hear the demands of Black and directly impacted voices. It takes energy and effort to show up 3 times a month and do that, right? It absolutely does. So what we need to do is keep on talking to folks to help them understand that we want community safety. Defunding the police is a call for community safety. Police are keeping me and my white-looking kid safe. So if I say we can't defund the police, we need them. What I'm saying is I don't give a fuck about Black or brown people. It's okay that the police are murdering them. I don't mind, because I don't have to worry about them killing my teenager at a traffic stop or when they're walking down the street. And if that's not the kind of world you want to live in, then it's up to you to have these hard conversations with the people that you know. If you are still saying that you can't defund them, you just need to know that everyone around you with any baby abolitionist analysis knows you are 100% low-key white supremacist. That's the only way it is, because only people with a lot of privilege or people with a lack of melanin and pretty white would think that police are keeping anybody safe, okay? It's like low-key racism because you're not an outright bigot like Sal, you know, who's sitting there saying, I can't even think of the myriad racist things he said, but you're more like Yasemin, who when Mass Liberation talked to her, the new D7 council person, she said, well, actually, my community, D7, the people that are being over-policed, killed and caged, they need more police. They need more police with more training in their neighborhood. For her to think that that is a solution that is somehow going to stop the police from killing folks is disgusting. And so, yes, we're going to have to be coming for her too. It's just sad if you believe in the system that much and if you benefit from the system that much that you've never had to question it. It's also, frankly, a bit lazy and unimaginative to depend on killer cops for safety. I mean, once we have a quarter of their budget, there are so many services that we could fund and build instead that would create safety.
So we have some comments. Petra says, you're so sad that your voice is the most powerful and loud at the local level, which is why there's been so much pushback from Mass Liberation Arizona. And Nisha said, that's right. And on Facebook, Suzanne Elizabeth said snaps, and that we should check out Madrid, New Mexico. So I'm assuming they defunded their police department. So since we have a little bit of a space right now, how's everyone feeling with what Patricia just told us about the process of defunding, the possibility of defunding, the capability of defunding? What are some things you'd like to see with all that money that we could possibly get, like Patricia said, even just a quarter of their budget? What would you like to see us spend that money on? Can y'all name your answer in the chat or out loud? I'm looking. O'Neill commented that 19-year-old Bradley Alex Lewis was white. He was a victim of institutional anti-Black violence from the militarized state when Pima County deputies shot and killed him January of this year. That short-sighted thinking for a woman of the barrio. I think she's talking about what's her name?
Yasemin Ansari.
Yasemin, yeah, Yasemin. I can't believe that she said that. And that was from Petra. And Anisha said, put in the chat the question, would you like to see the money that we get from police's budget? What would you like to see that spent on? Anyone want to jump in? Petra says social workers, lighting parks, complete streets, emergency mental health care for child care teams for trauma. That's where the money could go, and to schools. Lachey says rape crisis centers. Vanessa dropped in our chat that Suzanne from Facebook said that they don't use police and they're creating and they create and take care of each other. Anisha says housing. Roland Baker on Facebook says we must defund the police. What would you like to see that money? What else could we spend that money on? Patricia, you have ideas?
Gardens, education, housing, daycare,
job training.
It's infinite and endless.
Updating our water systems. Yes.
So, right, because they were trying to charge South Phoenix to do that, Lachey. Thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, they're trying to charge South Phoenix for repairs that are happening everywhere, including Scottsdale and Fountain Hills and all the really more ritzy places.
That's right. And even though those places use all the water for their golf courses, mind you.
Right. Roland also says community gardens.
Yep. I think, Zoraida, I'm going to time check us. Why don't we hop to the next section?
Sure. So let's talk receipts then, Patricia. Does anyone recall some of the places that council could have intervened and they didn't? Or do you know, Patricia?
Yeah, why don't people drop in the chat? I mean, honestly, we could be here for 6 hours if we really wanted to get into details and name the receipts on all of the ways that city council heard the issue from the community, heard the solution, heard what needed to happen, how they needed to vote, and then flat out refuse to do their job that they're paid to do, which is support the community and do their bidding, and voted against us. It's just, it's sickening. And I mean, you all, there's a timer of 5 minutes, so I'm gonna go quick. What I want you all to get away from this is, or what I want you all to take away from this is that City Council are folks voting for us. We have changed their votes. We have the power to do that. We need to keep pushing. We need to keep building, which is to bring folks to do it. Let me remind us of some of the bigger ones. So maybe you get a little pissed off and you want to continue working with us, continue on this path of movement. This month, May 19th, the second formal council meeting, the OAT, the Office of Accountability and Transparency, is going to be back on the formal council city agenda. That's a really big deal because at this point, OAT is harmful because it's actually increasing the power of the state, and it is not increasing accountability, transparency, or reducing their power to harm folks. Our council member, Carlos Garcia, did not notify us of that. We found out through the grapevine, and normally we don't get the formal agendas don't come out until a week ahead of time. So if we would have had that 3-week heads up, it would help us organize, strategize, plan what to do, and get the community behind it. So it's very disheartening to know that we're not even hearing what's happening ahead of time, while other groups are hearing what's happening ahead of time. We had on April 7th, the contract with Plea, which was approved 7-2. Only Carlos and Betty voted against that because we showed up, I think 50, 100, I don't know how many folks, it felt like 1,000, but we were there telling them they had to vote against that contract, right? On St. Patrick's Day on March 17th, remember, we were talking about the investigation for the tactical response unit where they were paying those cops at 21 CP Solutions. They ignored us completely. March 10th at the Public Safety and Justice Subcommittee, where they were trying to understand what the Brady list is, which is pretty disturbing to think about. Folks who are voting on police issues don't understand what the Brady list is. And that was the meeting where I tend to exaggerate. I do genuinely feel like, though, it was an hour and a half slideshow presentation and then question of what is the Brady list. And it's not actually a list. It's, what do you call it, Zoraida? It's like it's a electronic whatever.
Like a database?
Database, not a list. Like whatever, bro. It doesn't matter. It's cops that are dirty. We know that.
I do remember them trying to stick us on our jar, like you didn't use the correct jargon, so therefore you're not a listed database. It's all in order. Get out of here.
Ridiculous. It goes on, and I mean, literally, we have a list as long as my arm. I'm not going to read it because we don't have time. The point is, City Council's job is to listen to us. They're not doing it. So we ask you, if you are Black and brown, to continue the fight, to know that we're supporting you. I got you, Zoraida. Thank you. And then for everybody else to come out in solidarity with Black lives, to listen to directly impacted leadership. And like, what a good role model we are for all those white racist idiots on council. We can show up and be like, look, this is all you have to do. Listen to these solutions and implement them. No big deal. So having said that, we do have an invitation to you on Wednesday, the first formal council meeting this month. We will be asking them to vote to approve a really important housing project on 40th Street and Southern that MassLib has had the pleasure of working with the developer about. And we need council to vote yes on that so that it can happen, because it actually benefits Black and directly impacted folks that have been impacted by the prison industrial complex. So come and support that. The link is in the chat. And then Thursday, miraculously, we have an in-person event. You have to wear your mask. Don't show up without a mask. We're going to have hand sanitizer and spray it all over you. Bring water. It's going to be hot. It is 12:45. We're meeting on the steps out in front of the South Court Tower at the Superior Court. We're asking you to join us in solidarity. We're going to be following all the COVID-19 precautions. So please come with the mask on. Ria told me to share screen when I was talking about this, and I'm not sharing screen, friends. So hold on. Let me do it so you can see the visual.
While she's doing that, just to honor our voices, we have April saying, I think before false charges were even made, they could have been upheld by our CRB promise. And that Roland says we need to come up with a plan to demilitarize, disarm the police nationwide.
That's right. If there's any questions, friends, drop them in the chat or email me, patricia@masslibaz.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for coming and for being here with us again tonight as we stretch ourselves and deepen and widen our shared analysis and commitment to abolition. Keep taking care of yourselves and taking care of your community. With lots of love and gratitude, we sign off a little early tonight. Thank you for understanding. We hope you have an amazing night, y'all. We love you to death and we can't wait to see you again. So good night and thanks again.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Good night, friends.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Vanessa and Anisha, for your support. Thank you,
That's right.
everyone.
Thank you, Abolition Wonder Twins.
All right, I'm gonna end the live. How do I do that, friends?